Do you ever wonder what is intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number? The traditional beliefs, customs, and stories of a community. A community not part of the mainstream, unconventional, peripheral, or extreme. Part of an anthology, a published collection of poems or other pieces of writing. This is Esoteric Lore. I'm your host, Edward Aponte, where I push you to ponder the fringes of folklore. What if ancient esoteric practices weren't mystical because they broke the laws of reality, but because they quietly understood them? In mathematics, there's a principle called the law of large numbers. It says that with enough repetition, randomness collapses and structure reveals itself. What if Kuji-In was never about magic, but about training probability from the inside out? Not forcing outcome, not manifesting fantasies, but narrowing chaos, stabilizing the nervous system, and making clarity statistically inevitable. Mastery doesn't arrive with fireworks, it arrives when variability disappears. This isn't belief, this isn't mysticism, it's mathematics applied to consciousness. Welcome to Esoteric Lore. Today, I want to talk about a concept from mathematics, something taught in probability theory, and how it may explain why Kuji-In actually works. Not symbolically, not spiritually, but operationally. This is a law of large numbers. It might be the missing bridge between ancient inner disciplines and modern science.
Segment 1, the law of large numbers.
In probability theory, the law of large numbers says something simple. When you repeat an action enough times, randomness fades and the true pattern reveals itself. Flip a coin once, you get chaos. Flip it 1,000 times, you get structure. The averages stabilizes, noise collapses, reality becomes predictable. This law doesn't remove randomness, it tames it. And that's where Kuji-In enters the picture.
Segment 2, Kuji not magic, it's probability training.
Kuji-In has often been misunderstood as a mystical shortcut, a ritual for power, protection, or influence. But when viewed through the law of large numbers, Kuji-In looks very different. It becomes a probability conditioning system. Each practice session is a trial. For example, one Ren practice may calm you or not. 50 practices produces noticeable patterns of calm. Hundreds create a new baseline. You're not forcing outcomes. You're biasing the distribution of your internal states. Over time, calm becomes more likely than reactivity. Clarity becomes more likely than confusion. Action becomes more likely than hesitation. That's not mysticism, that's statistics applied to consciousness.
Segment 3. Why sequence matters.
Kuji-In is never practiced randomly. There is a reason it unfolds in sequence: Rin, Pyo, To, and onward. Random practices produces small sample sizes. Small samples lie. Structured repetition produces convergence. Rin repeatedly stabilizes the nervous system. Pyo repeatedly eventually sharpens perception. To repeatedly links intention to action. The law of large numbers explains why mastery doesn't feel dramatic, it feels inevitable. At some point, the averages lock in. What once felt effortful becomes automatic. Not because something mystical happened, but because the law of variables collapsed.
Segment 4. The sudden awakening that isn't sudden.
Practitioners often say nothing happened and then everything changed. This is classic probability behavior. Early repetition looks noisy. Mid repetitions feel inconsistent. Later repetition stabilizes all at once. You didn't unlock a power, you crossed a threshold. The ancients call this mastery. Modern systems theory calls it phase transition. Different language, same phenomenon.
Segment 5. Powers reframed.
Traditional Kuji language speaks of power over self, power over others, power over the universe. Through the lens of probability, these translate to something far less mystical and far more impressive. Power over self looks like predictable inner state. Power over others looks like emotional neutrality and timing. Power over the universe looks like low noise intuition. The psychic aspect isn't supernatural. It's what happens when internal randomness drops low enough that perception becomes clean. You didn't see the future. You stopped distorting the present.
Segment 6. Why Kuji rejects shortcuts.
The law of large numbers is ruthless. It exposes ritual hopping, technique collecting, sensation chasing. Shortcuts don't scale. If something only works once, probability will reveal that. Kuji's insistence on repetition isn't tradition, it's quality control. If it works reliably. If it doesn't, repetition will expose it. That's rare honesty in inner work. So Kuji-In doesn't violate probability. It trains it Through repetition, chaos collapses into coherence. The nervous system stabilizes, attention sharpens, action becomes clean. What once felt random becomes reliable. And that may be the most radical idea of all. That ancient practices weren't primitives' attempt at magic, but early technologies for shaping probability from the inside out. As always, I leave you with a poem. The average. Nothing changed at first. That was the illusion. Each breath quietly reduced the noise. Each moment narrowed the spread until chaos could no longer hide inside the average. No miracle occurred, only convergence. And what once felt random became reliable, not because the world bent, but because you stopped shaking the lens.
If this episode changed how you think about the body, not as something mystical, not as purely mechanical, but as a responsive, electrical system truly capable of coherence, then I want to let you know where this work continues. Inside the Esoteric Everyday app, I've built the Kuji Master Course. It's not a belief system, it's not a ritual you have to perform, and it's not something you have to believe in for it to work. It's a step-by-step training in nervous system coherence, using the very tools we discussed today: Kuji-In, breath, posture, and your own attention. Each session is short. Each practice is grounded in your direct experience, and nothing is framed as supernatural, because the goal here isn't power, it's agency. If you're feeling curious, you can explore the Kuji Master Course inside the Esoteric Everyday app. There's no pressure, there's no hype. It's just a place to practice what we talk about here, quietly, consistently, and completely at your own pace.
If you like this video, please subscribe, share, and give us a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. See you next time.